So the next thing I'm going to show you guys is something called CSS, and we already got familiar with a little bit of it. So CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and what it does is it adds style to your HTML. So as we saw over here when we were working on index.html, this is CSS. This is actually inline styling, and I'm going to show you two other ways how you can add style. Now, this is like last resort, and this is if you want to do something specifically within the element. Another way how to do it is by styling in the head. In order to do that, you would just go Style, close it, and inside here you can select the different elements and style it that way. Okay, yeah, so this is what we were working with before. There's multiple different ways how to select the elements. The first way is defaults, right? So this will be things like div, h1, h2, and let's just go ahead and work with h1 for right now. Or actually, let's select the whole body, right? This is gonna select the whole everything. And then we go here. So this first part is the selector, right? This is what we're going to be affecting. And as you can see, this is body, so we're pretty much going to be affecting the whole document. The next part is going to be the property, and this is very similar, or actually this is exactly what we did right here, right? So this is the property. For here, we're going to select background. Right, and then the next part is value. And once again, we can just select whatever it is that we want to select. I'm going to do chocolate. And then here we have the closer. Now, if I wanted to add something else, right, like let's say, for example, a border. Or actually the color, yeah, let's select the color. And if you remember, this is going to affect the font color or text color, right? So let's go ahead and choose something that's going to stand out from this chocolate. Maybe, I don't know, let's go with blue. Now if we go over here, refresh the file, and you'll see that it once again selected everything. And it made the text blue. Now you'll probably notice that it only changed this text to be blue and not this text. Now why is that? Because if we look down here, this actually overrides whatever is here. So if we go ahead and inspect the element and we look at the text, or in this case the list, actually here, you'll see that the element style is color 990, but you'll also see here that it actually did inherit the color blue, but it's crossed out. And once again, that's just because here we overrided it to be 990. Now this is when we're working directly with elements, but let's say, for example, you want to have different elements within the same category be the same properties. So in order to do that, we're going to do something called classes. And in order to identify a class, we're going to have to do a dot. And then we're going to do a class. So let's go ahead and create two different classes so that way we can see the difference. We're gonna mess with the items over here. So let's say, for example, this is gonna be our ingredients, right? Or steps. So this is going to be step 1, wash hands. So yeah, let's say for example, this category is going to be our steps. And the next category, this is going to be our ingredients, such as cabbage. So this is going to be the steps class, the instructions class, and this is going to be the ingredients class, right? So over here, we're going to identify them. We're going to select them. And for instructions, we're going to have them be the color. Let's do red. Let's do it with a white background, or antique Alice blue. Let's do Alice blue. Okay, and then we're going to create another class that's called ingredients. For ingredients, we're going to have it be the color dark sea green, and the background color be deep pink. So now that we have our classes created, right, let's start putting them in here. So for the order list, we're going to call the class for instructions. And for the ingredients, well, we're going to call the class ingredients. Okay. Let's go ahead and save. Refresh. And as you can see, we now have the classes taking effects. Now, once again, this is important because this is going to be your identifier or your selector. And you can now use the class instructions wherever it is that you want to use it. So go ahead, play around with that. You can use it in any of the existing places, or you can create your own. I'm going to go ahead and just play with it up here. Now, this is getting more specific, and this is really whenever you have some, like one specific detail that you want to change in the document. And this is called IDs. And in order to call your ID, you would use your hashtag. And with the hashtag, you would say meat. We're going to call this meat because we're going to use it to identify all of the meat inside the ingredients. And we'll go ahead and change the font size to be larger. And we're also going to change the background color to just be black. Now let's see, let's identify the meat. And then we'll call the ID class using ID. We'll call meat, save it. And if we refresh it, boom. Now chicken has the ID of meat. Once again, this is like general, like by default. These are classes. This is how you would identify your classes. And this is how you would specify your IDs. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is actually how to do external CSS. This is going to be with a separate file. So the way how you would start is actually create a new folder. This is just good practice, called styles. And the reason why you want a folder like this is because, well, when you start working on big projects, let me just show you. So as you can see here in styles, we have our source, right? creating different components, different services, pages. And here we have our styles. And each one of this style, like pretty much everything in the page has a different style. Like for example, different components have different styles. We even have layouts, mix-in pages, and variables. And variables, just to briefly show you, it has all the values of anything custom that we've created. So for example, we use the font family Poppins, and the navigation has a default height of 68. So I'll show you in more detail, but just get into a habit of creating your styles and putting them into a different folder. So with that said, I'm going to create a new page. I'm going to call it index.css. And as you can see, the CSS logo shows up. And now I'm going to put something completely different. Let's see, what do we have for the body? As you can see, we still have the chocolate. We also have this kind of ugly turquoise color. So let's go ahead and change everything that we have. Let's go with body. Let's change the body back to white. Sorry. Background. Change it to white. Also, the hex code for that would be what? FFF? Yes. And let's change the font or the color of the text. Let's change it back to black. Right, and let's see if we can do just this basic simple thing. Right, save it. And as you'll probably notice, no changes. And that's because we still need to call the file into the index.html. So this is kind of similar to whenever you call any images from different files, right? I'll give you like 3 seconds to think how you can call the file. So the way how we link our style sheet into our HTML is simply by typing link, REL, style sheet, being referenced from, and then we're getting our style sheet from styles /index.css. Now, as you can see, I didn't have to put a root because then it would, it would still work in this instance, but it's not necessary to go back to the root because really here's our file, which just needs to go into the styles folder, and here's the index.css. So with that being said, we can close this now, save it, and refresh. Oh no, it didn't work. And this is your chance to fix it and figure out why it didn't work this time around. Okay, if we take a look at the elements here, right, the code, we can see that it did take in the file, right? Because here we have our background color BFF, white pretty much. And here we have our color just being black, right? So if you remember the order of which the override happens is that this is the first thing that opens. And then after that, this overrides this. And lastly, inline styling. Inline styling overrides pretty much everything. So once again, the order of operations, I guess, or the order of which the style sheets take place is external styling takes least priority. Then internal CSS takes next priority, and then with top priority is inline CSS. So with that said, let's go ahead and erase this style. Okay, so I'm just going to delete the instructions up here. I'm also going to delete the body, or at least the background color for body. Or actually the color, so that way you guys can see this change to black. And there you go. Right, so this can control everything now. Let's go ahead and take this. Let's delete it from here. Okay, and there you go. You can see that it's still taking effect, and you can change everything from here now. Now, why is this so important? Why not just continue doing it from the page? Well, if you're working in a website that has multiple pages, right, it would be very tedious. Have to copy and paste whatever it is that you put in the header all the time, right? So instead of doing that, and we can actually show you here, if we click this link, it will take us to page 1, right? The order list take us to page 1. And as you can see, this has no styling. But if we copy and paste this style sheet and put it on top of the head as well, refresh the page, there you go. So all you will need is this one line instead of having to copy and paste the other lines over and over again. Now, before this video starts to get too long, I do want to show you guys 2 cool things and of course 1 resource in order for you to improve your CSS styling. And that is going to be, oops, not Google Translate. Once again, MDN Web Docs. We take a look here, there is a guide for CSS. It pretty much says the same thing that I've mentioned. And as you saw, we didn't have to install any software. Here it goes over text. Here it goes over layout. And these are actually all very, especially Flexbox. Oh my gosh, you're gonna love Flexbox as soon as you get to it. But yeah, this is a good resource in order for you to learn about CSS, because it's not just about background color and changing the text, but it's also about aligning things in order. As you can see here, it's just first article, second article, and everything is fine. But you will want to do things horizontal. And as you can see, just by using Flexbox, well, it shows you things horizontally. Yeah, this is going to be your homework. But before I go, I do want to show you 2 CSS things that may be cool to add to your website. And that is going to be hover and making your website a bit responsive. So let's start with hover. We're going to make this change, right? Ingredients. And we're going to add hover. And essentially all this is going to do is that whenever you hover over something, it styles it however it is that you identify here, right? So right now we have ugly deep pink color. So if we do black, background color black, right? And if we wanted to make the text be larger, font size larger. Hell, let's even change the font family just for the fun of it. Save. Okay, so now whenever we hover over this, and once again, the way how we identify the ingredients is through the divider, right? If we wanted to, we could do it individually. Which may actually look better. Refresh. That doesn't look that much better, but as you can see, whenever we hover over each one of them, it changes the text. And as I said before, the other thing I wanted to show you is media, screen, and print. We can take a quick look at MDM over here. This is media queries, called media queries. And there is print and screen. We're mainly going to focus on screen. And this is the way how it looks. Yeah, this is how you would format it. Once again, here's the hover. As we have mentioned, here's also like the minimum or maximum constraints. And this is actually what we're going to take. So let's go ahead and take this body. Let's stick with the simple background color. Oops. So it's going to be body. Yeah, so we're going to type body. So it's only going to change things inside the body. I'm going to change background color. And let's have it be burlywood. Sure. Okay. Save. Go back to the website. Refresh the page. Now, as you can see, this is the max width, right? It's 12.4550, which may be a little too big. Let's go ahead and change it to something like 500 pixels. Okay. So as you can see, when we get to the maximum pixels of 500, this changes the color to burlywood, right? If we were to change this to actually be the minimum, right? So the minimum width being 500, then change the background color to burlywood. So this means anything below 500, actually, let's extend it to 700. That way we can actually see it. Okay, so yeah, the minimum has to be 700 in order for it to be burlywood. And that's how you make your website be more responsive. So I'm only showing you the visual stuff and the difference between inline external files and even internal styling. But there is a lot more properties that you should probably learn, like width, height. I mean, just to show you real quick, image, right? And this is going to change the size of the image, width. And as you can see, we have different options here from 0% to EM to REM, as I showed you from the last one, and most commonly pixels. As you can see, we also have VH and VW, I think should be one. So we could do 50 VW, which is 50% of the view width. And if we see this happen, yeah, you'll see that it takes up 50% of the screen. Yeah, we can adjust it up, down. There's also height, and these could be different. So let's say on 100 pixels. And then you get that. There's also things such as padding. Five pixels. I think if I remember correctly, the first one does it width. The second one does it height. And you'll see that it should, here, let's move this. It should give like a safe area. Yeah, as you can see, it expands, it gives it more space away from the margin. And that's another thing, actually, margin. This is pretty much like as close to the edge as you can possibly get. You can also do auto if you wanted to adjust it by default. Yeah, so if we increase this, yeah, you can see. So there are a lot of properties to learn, definitely. And not all of them apply to everything. Like, for example, the text, you probably wouldn't do the width in order to control the text. But you would do the width in order to control the container of the text. I mean, you can also use align. What is it? Text align. There we go. Yeah, and it aligns it to the center. But as you'll learn, there's a lot of properties. Layout is definitely important. Learning the flexbox also important, and that's another video all on its own. As you get more advanced, you're going to start learning things such as CSS and even less. Give us a like and subscribe to this video if you found it to be useful, and go ahead and give us any suggestions in the comments below. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.